Hey everybody. Ooh gosh, my hair looks worse than I thought it did. Oh good lord. Um hey Texas. Hey out of the shadows with Ginger. I may just have to call you out or out of the shadows. Out of the shadows with Ginger because that might become a little bit of a tongue twister later on tonight. But I do apologize that my hair is so crazy right now. I just took it out of the ponytail. Usually during the day, I have it up in a ponytail. And normally I go back there and brush it a little bit before I go on the stream. But I was fixing, although I haven't felt the greatest, I've been trying to fix some meals and stuff. So I was making some breaded pork chops and I was gonna make the other stuff to go with it, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm just wiped out." So I guess I'll have to wait till tomorrow to make like the greens and the biscuits and all that stuff that I wanted to have to go with it. I basically got the pork chops and the gravy made. Um, 71's gonna be here. Awesome. Um, It looks like we got about 3 people in here. I know I do apologize, guys. This was kind of late notice. I wasn't planning on doing one, and I thought, what the hey, I'll just do one. Ooh, BLT sound good too. Um, and you know, I'd like to apologize to Texas because um, I know Texas doesn't get mad, but I know nobody really likes those last minute things where I just kind of drop it on you and you guys um are like, "Oh, right, she's doing a stream now." And I also couldn't remember I watched Uncle Bill and Garrett stream um last night, or I watched the last part of it. By the time I got in there, they had almost covered all the movies they were going to cover from the show on Shutter. And I couldn't remember if Dead Pit was doing anything tonight or not. I couldn't recall. Um, Wolf Cop 8, Texas. I'm not going to be talking about Wolf Cop tonight, so I won't. I won't be talking about hating that movie. Well, thank you, Out of the Shadows. You say it's all good. I enjoy listening to you. Well, I appreciate that. And guys, I did end up privating the video from last night. So if anybody wants to go back and watch it, I can probably give you the link to it. But I was pretty upset at the time I did it, and I thought until everything settles down and gets settled in whatever direction it's going to get settled in, I thought it best that I just private that video. I may, make it public again whenever things kind of blow over. Um, but I was so upset last night that I don't even remember everything that I said. So Lord knows what I did say. Um, Ryan, you say, "Hey Dana, what I do whenever you stream, honestly, if I can't watch it, then I'll just watch it later." And Deadpit is doing a roundtable tonight at 10. So I wasn't planning on making this one very long. So if I go over, an hour with this, then I if some of you need to leave and go there, or some of you get in here so late that you want to go straight to the Dead Pit thing, it certainly will not hurt my feelings. I kind of thought that they were doing something tonight, and I just couldn't remember what Uncle Bill said last night, because I was still messed up at the time, and like Uncle Bill kind of invited me to watch their stream, as a distraction for me. So I really appreciated that. Um, Out of the shows, you say, "Dang girl, if that was you upset, you're one chill lady." Well, after I did the stream, I was, it took, I think it was probably almost 2 o'clock in the morning before I got any sleep last night. And I was crying on and off and just like really messed up. So that was probably me at my best, being upset. You can ask my husband about this. I've gotten upset over things and just went completely ballistic, more than once. And, I've done my fair share of cussing and name calling about this whole situation that I talked at length about yesterday or last night. Um, so I can get really, more wound up. I was just so exhausted and didn't feel that great. And I'm not feeling too great right now. And I wiped myself out just trying to make that one meal. But, you gotta do what you gotta do. And sometimes you gotta do things that you don't necessarily feel like doing. I didn't want that meat to go bad. And check out my new can coolers or can cozies or whatever you want to call them that I got for Halloween. I really like these. I got like 10 of them for $15 from Amazon. And I'm thinking about giving my neighbor the Hocus Pocus one because I was showing her what I had coming today. And she's like, "Oh, cool. Is that the Hocus Pocus one?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, it's the outline of the witches." So, I've got 10 of them. Why do I need to keep them all? And since she liked that one, I'm probably going to give her that one. Um, Ryan, you say, "I don't care." And if you need to stream to vent, I totally get it. Yeah. Um, but, I did. I guess I was a little bit hesitant to mark it as private because I was so upset yesterday, and or last night, and wasn't thinking too clearly. And some of you guys in here were suggesting that I maybe make it private, just to keep prying eyes and ears from looking at stuff until, like I said, things are settled. And once I had time to think about that more clearly, I was like, yeah, that's probably a better choice to do that. But what I'm planning on talking about tonight, as I just quickly, I came up with this idea and pulled a few movies off my shelf that I could talk about. And not all of them are horror movies. There's at least one that I guess would primarily be an action movie. Well, two actually that would be considered more action movies. They're not necessarily horror movies. And the rest of them, yeah, I guess you would call most of them horror. But the idea I came up with, in case some of you didn't see the promotion that I put out just about 15 minutes before I started, was I remembered that scene that they always show when they're talking about that movie Network. And honestly, I have never seen that movie, but I know the scene where the guy's going, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." And so that's basically that's been my mentality for like the last couple of days. It's been going back and forth between I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore to being really depressed. So, I'm kind of, going back and forth. So I thought, why don't I just talk about movies that we can watch when we're mad as hell and, we're pissed off at the world, really. And we want to metaphorically, not really, blow shit up and watch creatures tear people apart and all that stuff, but just because that's a way to get all that frustration out. Um, and there is going to be at least one rape revenge movie in here, which, well, I guess actually two, sort of, um, because being a woman and being able to watch these, I hope people don't think I'm being kind of, I don't know, how should I put it? Not woke, not woke. I don't want to say that, but with all this Me Too stuff and all these women seeming to come out of the woodwork, and I don't mean that a derogatory way. I just mean a lot of them lately have come out and said that they had been sexually harassed or coerced into sexual activity with somebody in the movie business, and it's snowballed from there. It's went on and on and on. But I just wanted to say, sometimes me being a woman, of course, watching woman, or what I feel women empowerment movies are, that kind of gives me a little strength, yeah, get those guys that did that bad shit to you, you know. And again, it helps me let off steam, and it's a lot healthier way, I think, to let off steam than really, acting, hitting someone or something like that just because we're angry. I think, watching the movies is a lot more of a healthy outlet, and a less dangerous outlet for you to engage in, to kind of diffuse some of that anger and frustration that you're going through, no matter what is the cause. Um, I I think sometimes a little entertainment will help. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. Uh, Texas, you say you need to buy some crass records and you'll be fine. Just make sure Steve is not on. You mean when I buy them or when I play them, or both? But anyway, um, so we got about 6 in here, so I think that's a good enough number to go ahead and start. Hey, 71, you say hola, Evil Dead Chick. I'll put that up there because that's nice. Um, and again, if some of you have to leave before I'm finished, you can, of course, go back and watch this on the replay, because I'm not going to private this one. I'm just going to kind of leave it, because I'm not really talking about specifics on this one, and I'm planning on getting to the movies here really soon. On a positive note, though, I am getting some positive bites on the job front. That's just all I'll say. Um, One real positive right before I got on here. I had to send some more information in. So, things might be looking up for me soon. So, hey, old curly jaws. Uh, so you want to be on here, old curly jaws? Do you have some movies that you want to talk about too? Um, I'll just tell you though, I'm gonna try not to be on here too awfully long. So if you change your mind about being on here, it's okay. I'm just getting on here to talk about a few things, and probably gonna hop off and go uh, watch Army of Darkness or Fright Night 4K, or both, or um, Doug, you say you had anger issues when you were younger, so you got a punching bag helped a lot. Steve actually, well, he did have a punching bag that was out in the garage. He may have had to take it down to make room for his weights and stuff like that, but he had enemy on it, written on it or whatever. And I did, when he had that hanging up, sometimes when I was feeling angry, I would go out there and punch on it a little bit. And it really does make you feel better. '71, you had an angry day also. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. So I was waiting to see if old Curly Jaws was gonna answer me here. Because if I'm gonna do this kind of quickly, I was thinking he might not want to be on here. But just before I get to the movies, though, I did want to say what I was angry at specifically. Y'all might not care. Texas might tell me we don't freaking care. But technically, what I'm angry about is, and this is in no way directed towards anybody in here. It's directed towards, people that I feel like don't believe me that I one have the long COVID. They don't believe that my immune system is shot, even though my doctor has specifically said so. I could go on and on and on. I hate to talk bad about my husband while I'm on here because I do love him. I do love him with all my heart, but I just get these vibes. You know how you get vibes from somebody sometimes? And so I've got these vibes that he doesn't believe me. He still yet doesn't believe me, even though my doctor has said, and it's just went on and on and on. And I just feel like he's on the side of my probably soon to be former employer with this. And it just, that hurts so bad. When you're already going through something and you're already hurting and all of that, then you really don't need somebody else seeming to take the side of the person that you're angry at, or entity or whatever that you're angry with right now. And it seems like he does that to me all the time. He takes the side of the person that has made me angry or that has hurt me, and it seems like he's saying all this is your fault, Dana, because you've gotten in this way. Um, oh, thank you, old curly jaws. Send me hugs. Okay, so 71, you say to tell him to fuck off. Yeah, or F off, I guess I should say. I might get kicked off here for saying the other. Um, yeah, men don't want to hear a lot of things. I've come to know that. No offense to any of the guys in here. Um, but anyway, I'm going to go with that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And we're going to talk about some movies that can hopefully help diffuse our anger when we have it. Same one you say, I know men are sometimes useless. but no, but you say no offense to any man in here. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the first movie, and I don't think I've talked about this movie in a while. The first movie I wanted to talk about briefly is Basket Case. And why Basket Case? Well, here's why. Because you have a angry little creature, a Siamese twin like creature. And it even says on here the tenant in room 7 is very small, very twisted, and very mad. And that's Belial, like the main creature of Basket Case. Um, and if you really want to get your anger out metaphorically, I think this is a great movie to watch because Belial is angry. When that basket gets opened up that he is in, that his brother opens up and he just kind of just "Ah!" like that, and there are several scenes where he does that. And when he does that, usually the person on the receiving end of that is going to be messed up in some way. We have one person that ends up with medical implements all stuck in their face, scalpels and all that stuff. It's a great scene because you see Bilal come out and attack her. And then the next thing you see all the scalpels and stuff sticking in her face, and she's going, ah. And so that's a great scene. There are several other people in this that get their faces and body all clawed up. I mean, it's pretty vicious. Um, but I could almost see Bilal and Bilal's actions being a metaphor for anger. Now, I don't know if that's what Frank Henenlotter, the director, was actually going for with this, but it definitely seems to fit the bill. At least it's the way I've been feeling today. Um, because it's kind of, well, it's not the same, but they say when someone passes away, when there's a death in your family or something, that people go through different stages. They go through like denial and anger and eventually acceptance. So I almost think that that's kind of similar to what I'm going through. Um, Only it's not the loss of a person, it's potentially the loss of a job that's making me angry. Um, so, and then will eventually come a point where I accept it and move on from that. But right now, I feel like I need a little help. I need a little help diffusing that anger. Oh, Curly Jones say basket case is something else. Yeah, it is. It certainly is. And 71, you say, sounds like my life story. Curly Jaws, you say, did you like the sequels to Basket Case and do you think a remake is necessary? Supposedly, a remake has been on the front end for a while with many directors attached to it. Uh, one that's interesting. Um, well, I did enjoy the sequels, oh Curly Jaws, to Basket Case. But nothing really fits the bill like Basket Case for me. I mean, even if I'm not angry, I love Basket Case. Um, it just has, it has everything in it. It has a little bit of comedy. It has the horror. It has the gross out scenes. Um, it has this weird little creature in Bilal that his brother Dwayne carries around in a basket. And people keep asking him throughout the movie, what's in the basket? And you really don't want to know what's in the basket because usually the people that find out what's in the basket end up dead. So, um, even a guy who tries to steal the basket, thinking he steals it from Dwayne in a movie theater, and I'm guessing he's thinking there's money in there, drugs, something like that, and he ends up on the receiving end of Bilal's fury. Um, but yeah, I do enjoy the sequels. But I always go back to the original. If I really want a good dose of Basket Case, the original is where I'm going to get it from. I don't think a remake, honestly, is necessary for this movie, in my personal opinion. I think this was, I think this was a lightning in a bottle type of scenario where Frank Henenlotter created this at just the right time and place and all that. And although if somebody does make a remake, it's not going to ruin this original. I just don't think it needs to be made. This movie's perfect in my eyes the way it is, all schlocky and low budget and fun, bloody, gory, all that stuff, zany, what most of Frank Henenlotter's movies are. Well, Michael Bay was ever attached to anything, I'd say definitely not. 71, you say when you're sick, that's how it is. I know I have been too. I mean, I dreamt this morning someone tried to kill me. Oh, I've had many of those dreams, and those are the scariest nightmares for me, is one where somebody, is trying to kill me or trying to kill me and someone in my family. Um, Oh, Curly Jones, you say who owns the rights to Basket Case? Well, I would assume that Frank Henenlotter still owns the rights to it. Um, and whoever maybe the original distributor was. Um, but I would imagine that Frank Henenlotter still. I haven't ever heard otherwise that he didn't have still have attachments to it. Hey, TJ. Still feeling kind of bad, but not quite as depressed as I was last night. So I guess in that sense, I'm feeling better. Yeah, they probably would ruin the remake, but like I said, it even if they ever do a remake, just keep in mind, guys, it's not going to ruin the original at all. Um, so even if they want to like make a stupid remake, that's a piece of crap. We don't have to watch it if we don't want to, and let the people that want to watch it can watch it. Dark. I know, I know. You say Evil Dead remake made the original better, in my opinion. Man. Oh, Curly Josie say it's always Chucky or Jeepers Creepers in my dreams. Is Chucky or the Jeepers Creepers monster trying to get you? Um. Okay, so like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time going into deep detail about the plot or anything because I think most of these are going to be familiar enough to you guys where you know. Now, there might be a couple of them that I might have to go into a little more detail on because I think they might be a little lesser known. Oh, Curly Jaws, you said basically I really take my chances with Chucky. It's Chucky on the creeper's back. Okay, so the next one is one I haven't talked about for a little bit either, and that's The Beast Within. And I know people asked me the last time I talked about Beast Within, they said, "Isn't that a werewolf movie?" Or maybe it was when I did my werewolf show. Somebody at some point in time asked about it being a werewolf movie. I don't really consider this a werewolf movie only because the boy in it, you can see on the back there, and that must be like a publicity steal or something because that's not in the movie that I can recall. I think they just had him pose for that, maybe put contacts in his eyes or something like that, put makeup on him. Because the boy in this movie, Michael McCleary, is basically turning into a giant cicada. Which to me would be the furthest thing from a werewolf you could get because it's an insect. But I have even heard Joe Bob mention werewolf in connection with Beast Within. I don't know that he exactly called it a werewolf movie, but he did mention werewolf film in connection with it. So again, the reason why I have that one in my stack of movies for the mad as hell stream tonight is because this kid, Michael McCleary, literally, well, slowly, I guess, turns into this giant cicada. And when the hunger strikes him, he goes after these people with the last name of Kerwin. And if you watch the movie, you realize that the Kerwins have something to do with who his real father was, because his dad is not his real dad. His mother was attacked on her wedding night by Michael's real father, who was a creature himself. And the Kerwins were responsible for torturing Michael's real father. So Michael has some kind of telepathic link with his father, who is no longer alive. He was shot and killed after the attack on Michael's mother. So I guess from the dead, he has a telepathic link with Michael and basically tells Michael to get rid of all the Kerwins in this small town. So when Michael feels the need, he goes out and kills one of the Kerwins. And in very gruesome fashion, I will say. There's one scene where he gets one of the people and like he really tears in the guy, and when he raises his face up and he's just like that, it's pretty vicious, and it's almost like he's licking his lips, like you see a dog lick their lips when they see something they'd like to eat, or when they're eating something really tasty. That's sort of like the analogy was here. So, and I'm sorry if it's freaking people out, me making all these expressions and stuff like that, but I'm just trying to get across some of the viciousness of these particular films and why they fit in with the mad as hell theme that I'm talking about. TJ, you say make a basket case musical like Evil Dead did. Brandon Lee. Guys, sorry. I'm gonna break this. Sorry, guys. Brandon just keeps knocking over my light every time I do one of these. Brandon, you need to leave that light alone, buddy. Yeah, that would probably be pretty crazy. Oh, Curly Josh, you said that'd be fucking dope. Make that a team up movie directed by Ronnie Yu. Giant cicada, yep. TJ, you say it's more like The Fly with just as juicy bladder effects work. Yeah, pretty much. That's actually what I've been reminded of sometimes when I watch this is The Fly. And of course, I'm talking about Cronenberg's remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. But yeah, I mean, this is another one where the kills are really vicious. In my opinion, a great way to get frustration out again is to watch Michael rip his way through the Kerwins one at a time. And, Michael's character, even at the point where he literally does turn into the cicada, you feel sympathy for him. This is one of these characters where you realize that even though his father got turned into a monster, it was not really his fault. So not only do you feel sympathy for Michael, you feel sympathy for Michael's father, who was basically driven crazy and tortured for so long. Then he turned, they never really explained how his father turned into this creature, but just that his father had a connection with insects. And I guess they feel like they didn't really need to explain that. But then you also feel sympathy towards Michael because of what he's going through. He's becoming something that he does not understand. It's something he can't stop. But when this being takes him over, he has no control anymore. It's just almost like a vicious animal attack. So again, another way to get that frustration and anger out is to either watch The Beast Within or something similar. But I think these types of films where somebody literally becomes something else, and they're helpless to stop it from happening. Isn't that kind of what our anger is? Sometimes our anger, you know how we say, I just bowled over, I just couldn't take it anymore, on and on and on again. And I'm not saying you should go out and tear somebody apart because you're angry. I'm just saying I think we all understand that level of anger and rage. Um, and it's not that we want to go rip somebody apart or do great harm to them. It's just that we want to stop the hurt and the anger and all of that. And we really don't, as human beings, we don't know how to process that sometimes. And when someone in a movie becomes otherworldly or becomes something else, they actually get to act on it. And so through the film, I think that's a way to diffuse our anger. 71, you say, yeah, I used to watch full out rage movies when I was pissed off and get wasted. Well, I was considering last night just drinking a bunch of booze, but then I thought about it and I was like, do I really want to do that? Because as badly as I've been feeling, do I really want to add the alcohol to that and then get sick on top of that because of the alcohol? And so I decided to dial it back and not do that. But I do understand the concept and the wanting to do that, to just get bombed and just forget about everything. And I totally understand that. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, that's why I smoke the devil's lettuce, so I don't powerbomb people. Yeah, I sometimes think I could use some devil's lettuce too. You say, yeah, that's not the best. Because I have done that, and it never turns out well when I've drank too much alcohol. Okay, so the next one is one that I may need a little bit of an explanation. I mean, you can go by the title Berserker, and that tells you a whole lot. But let me just read off a little bit of the plot synopsis for this one. This is a Vinegar Syndrome release that it was another one that Steve doesn't understand why I bought it. So a group of friends have set out on a camping trip in a rural part of Utah. Although warned by a kindly Norwegian immigrant, Pappy Nyquist, played by none other than George Buck Flowers, of a series of recent killings, supposedly the result of a bear. The campers are undeterred and decide to spend the night outdoors, getting drunk and sharing stories of berserkers. ruthlessly violent Viking warriors who wore bear skins and snouts. Not long after pairing off for a romantic escapade, they find themselves terrorized and ripped apart by a large and violent bear. But is it actually a bear? Or perhaps a real life berserker who has somehow been transported to the 20th century? So, this is called a slasher. And I don't know if I would necessarily call it a slasher per se, but it's definitely almost an animal attack film, but not quite, because these are Vikings with bear skins and snouts on. And they're kind of getting revenge for people trespassing on their sacred land. And as we all know, we've seen enough of these types of movies. We know that we don't do that. And when people do that, bad things happen to these people. So this has been called an atmospheric and suspenseful slasher, punctuated by moments of shocking violence and brutality. Jefferson Richards' Berserker features expressionistic cinematography by Henning Schellerup, who did Silent Night, Deadly Night, and The Boogans, and striking editing from Marcus Manton, Pumpkinhead, and Breaking 2. Vinegar Syndrome proudly presents the world disc premiere of Berserker, newly restored from its long-lost original camera negative. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but there are some bloody scenes on the back of this. So this is another one where people are literally getting ripped apart. And why are they getting ripped apart? Well, it's just like I said, this Viking warrior who has come from the past is angry with these people for trespassing on land that's sacred to them, to the Vikings. So, you go in a place that you shouldn't go, bad things end up happening. And this has happened in many, many movies, not just this one. I mean, how many times have people been warned in the Friday the 13th movies? And other movies where they went to campgrounds or other areas where they shouldn't have been, or where they were told not to go, and bad things ended up happening. So I think if you've never seen Berserker, I would highly recommend it. This was sort of a blind buy for me. I don't think I had ever seen it before, and I actually think I had it mixed up with, I believe, the movie's Blood Frenzy. Let me look that up. You're probably thinking, "Good Lord, Dana, how'd you get that mixed up with Blood Frenzy?" But I did. But I'm going to check and make sure that is the right movie that I had it confused with. Yeah, Blood Frenzy and Berserker. I had those mixed up. And two totally different movies, because Blood Frenzy came out in 1987. And it's about a maniac who tries to kill off a group of teenagers on an encounter session in the desert. And Berserker is not about that. 71, you say, "Oh man, if I could just get bombed one night and just get totally wasted, that would be awesome. If we didn't have to deal with the after effects the next day." Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, "I don't even touch alcohol anymore. As long as I got my bud, I'm good." Well, that's probably a good thing, oh Curly Jaws, because that alcohol can be rough on you. You say we need a butt flowers biopic. Yes, Dirk, I have heard of Psychomania. And Steve actually, was it Arrow that put out that? Maybe a couple years ago or something. Maybe it wasn't Arrow, but somebody put it out, I think, on a Blu-ray, and Steve got it. That was a movie that I actually watched way before I knew any of you guys. I knew Steve, I knew Dead Pit, any of that. That was like years before. And I was always intrigued by that movie. and a little creeped out by that movie. That movie is creepy to me. But yes, I have definitely heard of Psychomania, and I would recommend it. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say, Danny, you just need a binge watch the Hatchet films and eat 36 gummies. Oh my God. I don't know. I don't want to know what 36 gummies would do to me. And watching the Hatchet films. Wow. You say just the name alone makes me want to check it out. Psychomania. Yeah, I don't know. You might like it, old Curly Jaws. Yeah, that TJ, you're right. There's probably a lot of sugar in 36 gummies. I've actually got a big old bag of gummy bears in there that I got at Kroger's the last time we got groceries. Haven't even opened it yet, but I may have to open it here if I haven't ate much today and my blood sugar. I know that I should eat, but I haven't been too hungry. And Brandon, you're gonna knock that over again, buddy. I know he's gonna knock it over. Just well, maybe not. But I think he knocked it askew. But anyway, I may have to get that big bag of gummy bears out here in a little bit because I haven't been eating as much as I probably should today. Dougie said, I haven't seen it. My son just gave me a whole shipload of VHS. I'm going through them. Oh, Dirk, man, you got to watch it. You got to watch it because I want to know what you think about it. Oh, you're saying Berserker? Yeah, Curly Jones, you might like Berserker. I do recommend it to anybody, especially if you've never seen it. But I would recommend that maybe you try to find it on Tubi or something, or YouTube maybe, and watch it that way before you plop down your hard-earned cash to buy it. So, but yeah, I think it's a fun little movie. Um, okay, so the next one is kind of like a rape revenge thing, like a not quite as explicit as another one that I'm going to talk about here tonight. And this was another one that Steve wondered, why on earth did I buy this? He was like, I have a HD copy of it on the hard drive, Dana. Why did you buy it? It's not that good of a movie. Which I'm not saying it's a terrible movie. It's not one that I'm going to watch as quite as much as some of these others I'm talking about tonight. But I do definitely think it's worth a watch. And that is Blood Games. And basically, in a nutshell, I'll just read this little plot synopsis on the back here because not everybody might not be familiar with Blood Games. So it all started as a simple game of softball. When a women's softball team wins a game against a group of rough talking and dirty playing men, they find themselves unwittingly involved in a new competition with much higher stakes, life and death. After being horribly attacked and assaulted by their male competitors, the women are forced to use both their wits and strength to escape their tormentors and avenge their teammates. However, they quickly find themselves trapped in a deadly cat and mouse chase through a nearby forest, where violence lurks behind every tree. A shockingly violent revenge thriller that, despite its early 90s release date, and keep in mind this was early 90s, is as unflinching in its brutality as the roughest exploitation films of the 1970s. Now, why I would not necessarily go that far with it, it does have its fair share of violence in it. Israeli director Tanya Rosenberg's Blood Games is a tense and action-packed exploitation gem, starring prolific stunt woman Laura Albert alongside Ken Carpenter, Tammy and the T-Rex, Ross Hagen, Wonder Woman, Gregory Scott Cummins, Hack-A-Lantern, and cult character actor George Buck Flower from Berserker. So we got another movie with George Buck Flower in it. Vinegar Syndrome proudly presents the long overdue disc debut of Blood Games in a brand new 2K restoration. So you got your basic kind of rape revenge plot or women against evil men plot. Um, However you want to look at it. And these women are tough. They're tough ladies. Because they have to go through a lot in this. And although some of the more exploitive scenes are not quite on the level of the other movie I'm going to talk about tonight, that definitely and more explicitly has a rape revenge um, as its the cornerstone to its plot. This one is definitely worth a watch. It will help you ladies get your frustration out because, as you can see, these women have a lot of implements of destruction there, including some guns and bats and all kinds of nifty little weapons. So, um, and even though it may seem sometimes that the women are kind of down and out in this movie, they always manage to come back and they never completely let these bad guys get the upper hand, these evil men. Um, and some guys may be turned off by this type of film, the type of film that kind of insinuates that there are just massive groups of these evil guys that are just lurking around waiting to take advantage of women sexually, to beat up on them, to do whatever. Um, and probably the early 90s wasn't the best time for this type of movie to come out. I think the best time for this type of movie to come out would have been in the 70s, and possibly early to mid 80s, but not much after like 85, 84, 85. That was those time periods were like the prime time for these types of things. So that might be why this one is not as well known as some of the others. But dang, it's worth a watch, guys. It's not an awful film. I was able to stick with it for the let me see if I can find the running time on here. 90 minutes. So it's only 90 minutes, guys. It's not like it's like movies now where everything's got to be 2.5 to 3 hours long. So definitely, if you can find this on Tubi or on YouTube or whatever, I say, take a look at it. Take a gander at Blood Games. I think most everybody in here would enjoy it. Let's see. Oh, Curly Josie said, we need to do a watch along for Evil Bong. Who's in? I promise you, Curly Jaws, we will do a watch along for Evil Bong at some point. Okay, so the next two movies I'm going to talk about, well, probably maybe the next three, are probably not considered horror movies per se, but they definitely have people getting shot and things exploding and all of that. And the first one I want to talk about is, of course, Die Hard with Bruce Willis. And, watching Die Hard now is kind of bittersweet considering what Bruce Willis is going through. But I tell you, Bruce Willis is a very accomplished actor, a very versatile actor. He was on, he started out kind of in, remember that show Moonlighting that he was on with Sybil Shepherd? He was on that. And he was great. I loved Moonlighting. Um, and he was on an episode of, it was, I think it was the Twilight Zone from the 80s. He was on an episode called Saturday. And he was excellent in that too. I mean, and that was just episodic television. That was not even a full-length movie. So I think he's amazing in Die Hard. This is the 4K that I've got of this. Um, he plays John McClane, who's a New York cop. And this is also a Christmas movie, too, believe it or not. Who flies to LA on Christmas Eve to visit his wife at a party in her company's lavish high rise. Plans change once a group of terrorists, um, led by Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman, seize the building and take everyone hostage. McClane slips away and becomes the only chance anyone has in this beginning to end heart stopping action thriller. And that's exactly what it is. This is not a horror movie. This is an action thriller. I mean, there's no two ways about it. So in Die Hard, you have explosions, you have gunplay or gunfire or whatever. You have a terrorist situation, a hostage situation, and basically Bruce Willis is a one man war machine taking on all these terrorists, and he's not going to take any prisoners. So yeah, this would definitely, for me, fit the bill. When you are angry and needing to diffuse some of that anger, you watch Die Hard, and watch Bruce Willis at work. And no doubt you will be feeling a lot calmer, I think, because your your anger will have diffused because you're watching a master at work with Bruce Willis. You're watching him within this movie take on these evil guys and come out on top. So, definitely anything like that where good wins over evil. That's ultimately what I'm getting to here, guys. That there's some of these movies where it's not good triumphs over evil. Some of it is, creatures that are attacking people that are in a place that they shouldn't be. But then some of these movies we're talking about, it's good triumphing over evil. And I think Die Hard does that in spades. Um, Plus, like I said, you get explosions and gunfire and all that, that that tends to be something that people think only guys like, but I like it. I know there's other women that like action films. Just like, sci-fi is not just for guys. Horror is not just for guys. We know that now. But there was a long period of time where I think a lot of these different types of genres, just there was this assumption that women didn't care for that. Women wanted to watch romantic comedies and dramas about somebody dying of some terrible disease. I'm reminded of a scene. Now, some of you might not like the old Roseanne show, and I'm sorry if you don't. But there was a scene during an early episode of Roseanne where Jackie, Roseanne's sister, was dating Gary. And Gary and Dan went through this whole thing because they were supposed to have a double date. It was supposed to be him and Roseanne and Gary and Jackie going to see a movie. And they were joking that they were going to have to see somebody cough up a lung at the Cineplex. And they were making fun and saying, I'm dying of some woman's disease. And and Gary says, I'm dying of the same disease. And it's like they and so that hit upon me that, oh, I get it. There was a point in time where guys thought that's all women wanted to watch. That they wanted to watch only romantic comedies and tear jerkers where somebody dies of some terrible disease like cancer. Okay. So, I'm kind of blowing the lid off of that theory tonight because I'm a woman and I like all different kinds of movies. I'm not saying I don't like romantic comedies. I'm not saying I don't like tearjerkers, but I also like my horror movies and my action movies and my sci-fi movies, my teen comedies, TNA films. I mean, I'm not against But basically, any kind of film I'm not against. I don't care much for porn, but it's whatever you like. Darky say Natural Born Killers is one for me. Yeah, I haven't seen Natural Born Killers for a while. I need to pull that one back out and watch it. Oh, Curly Jaws, you say you like the Die Hard sequels. It's been a while since I've seen the sequels, so the original is more fresh in my mind. You say especially the later ones. TJ, you said Willis almost didn't do Die Hard because of moonlighting, but Sybil Shepherd got pregnant. Yeah, that would have been. I guess that would have been around the same time, wouldn't it, TJ? I had forgotten about that. But yeah, I don't know. You might be thinking, well, that's after the fact, Dana. But I just can't imagine anybody else playing that character other than Bruce Willis, because for me, he kind of encapsulates that role of John McClane. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about, I have my big ass set here, but I'm not going to talk about all these because I've already done a Dirty Harry stream quite early on, but I did want to talk about the original Dirty Harry. And this is a great set if you can get a hold of it, by the way. I mean, I know I talked about this probably on that other stream, but this is the ultimate collector's edition for Dirty Harry. And I had to end up, I think I got this off of eBay. I didn't have to pay too awfully much for it. I think I paid like maybe 50 for this, and it's got all the Dirty Harry movies in it. Plus, it's got a lot of. I guess I could show you guys this stuff real quick. It's got a lot of cool stuff with it. It's got a book. That's a hardmail book, and also, I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff, but it's just pretty cool. You get a personal message from Clint Eastwood. I don't know if you guys can see that real good. You get a Dirty Harry Callahan wallet. Check that out, guys. I thought this was pretty cool too. And you get some lobby cards. And you also get a map there where remember when he was running all over town and he had to take the calls from the killer, from the sniper. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, I'm going to put this stuff back in here. But if you could get a hold of a copy of this at a reasonable price, I would say go for it. I missed out on getting it brand new, but I mean, this isn't in too bad a shape, the copy that I've got. 71, you say I love Clint Eastwood. I do too, 71. I mean, I grew up watching a lot of Clint Eastwood stuff with my dad. My dad was actually the person that introduced me to the Dirty Harry movies, to the Clint Eastwood westerns, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Outlaw Josie Wells, Pale Rider, For a Few Dollars More, all those types of westerns. Wow, Curly Josh, you've never seen any of the Dirty Harry movies. Man, well, did you ever see my early video that I did on them, oh Curly Jaws? If not, you might want to go back and watch that. I think I talked in more detail about all of the Dirty Harry films at that time. But the first Dirty Harry movie has a sniper that's killing people like getting on the roof and well, I was hoping that there was like, because I mean, I know the story of Dirty Harry, but let me see if I can give you all a plot synopsis for this here. That's more, that's a little less disjointed than if I just talk about it. But Dirty Harry came out in 1971. So there's a madman calling himself the Scorpio Killer, and that's played by Andrew Robinson or Andy Robinson, whatever way you want to call it. And man, Andrew Robinson plays this guy like it's unbelievable. I mean, obviously Clint Eastwood is awesome in this movie, but without Andrew Robinson in here as a Scorpio Killer, if anybody else had played that character, I don't think this film would have worked as well. I mean, Andrew Robinson is good at playing crazy, and he's also good at playing a more sympathetic character. I've even seen him play JFK. So, you know, if he can go from the Scorpio Killer in Dirty Harry to playing JFK, um, man. And I think it was episodic television when he did that, but still, um, I just think that again is the mark of a great actor. So Clint Eastwood plays a tough as nails San Francisco police inspector who is given the job of finding the Scorpio Killer and trying to stop him before he can kill any more people. Um, so, I mean, some people might, you know, consider this, well, they probably do consider it horrific. Um, Especially the stuff that Andrew Robinson does. There's even a scene close to the end of the movie where where the Scorpio Killer takes a whole school bus full of children hostage, and he's so crazed that you're not sure what this guy is going to do. But this is another movie where you have explosions and a lot of gunfire and all of that. John Vernon is even in this playing the mayor. Uh, so you get, you know, not only do you get to see Andrew Robinson and Clint Eastwood, but you also get to see John Vernon. You get to see John Mitchell. Let's see. I was trying to see if there were any other really big names in here. But yeah, hey Elect, I would say if you've never seen any of the Dirty Harry films, Oh Curly Jaws, then definitely start with that first one and watch it. And then just go from there because I mean, I will admit the first few of them are really good. Um, Probably the first couple are the best, Dirty Harry and Magnum Force. But then you have the Enforcer, Sudden Impact, and Deadpool. So, I mean, I don't think there's really a weak one in the bunch, although I will say that Deadpool's probably a little bit weaker than some of those earlier entries. Yep, exactly, TJ. Well, do you, punk? 71, you say, I love the Outlaw Josie Wells. Yeah, I think that's one of my dad's favorites, too. Bronco Billy. Yes, TJ. Robinson was great in Hellraiser. From Wimpy Larry to the devious perv Frank, he did evil better than the actual Frank actor. LOL. Yeah, I think he actually did, TJ. That's a good point to bring up. But anyway, like I said, I'm not going to, you know, stay on any one of these movies for too awfully long because I know it's a little bit after 10 and some of you may be wanting to go over to Dead Pit. We may have already lost some people, but we got about 6 more to go, and I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can. But again, if you've never seen these movies, like Old Curly Jaws hasn't, definitely start with the first Dirty Harry. I would love to hear anybody's thoughts on these that hasn't watched them. Okay. So the next one, we've actually got 2 Kurt Russell films in here. And the first one is Escape from New York. And again, this movie has gunfire and explosions and all of that, the ultimate destruction. So, what better way to be able to get some frustration out than with something like this or some of these other movies I've talked about? So, if you've not seen Escape from New York, let me give you a little plot synopsis on it. In a world ravaged by crime, the entire island of Manhattan has been converted into a prison that houses the world's most brutal inmates. And when the President of the United States, played by none other than Donald Pleasance, crash lands inside, only one man can bring him back, Snake Plissken, played by Kurt Russell. A notorious outlaw and former Special Forces war hero who, in exchange for a full pardon, descends into the decayed city and wages a blistering war against the captors. But time is short. In 24 hours, an explosive charge planted inside Snake's body will end the mission and his life unless he succeeds. So they want to make sure that he's going to, stay on target. So like I just read, they do implant an explosive device in him that will detonate in 24 hours unless he succeeds and gets back to them so they can take this explosive device out of his body. So this is a John Carpenter movie, guys, in case you didn't know. And again, there might be some horrific things in here, but I wouldn't really consider this a horror movie. I would consider this more of an action movie. But it's great. And Kurt Russell is great in it. And the directing is great. John Carpenter does an excellent job with this. And like I said before, there's explosions and gunfire and total destruction, total annihilation. And that is a big reason why this would be one to kind of diffuse a little anger and have a little entertainment at the same time. So, Escape from New York, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Not only for anger diffusing, but just for great entertainment as well. 71, you say Escape from New York was good. Yeah, I actually, there was Escape from LA too, but I prefer Escape from New York. Even though Escape from LA has Bruce Campbell in it. Okay. So the next one I'm going to talk about is another type of revenge movie. I haven't rewatched this one in a while, but this is The Exterminator. And you're in for a treat when this guy's got this damn gun and flamethrower and all that jazz. So Christopher George is in this, Robert Ginty, and Samantha Egger. James Glickenhaus's explosive story of a Vietnam vet, John Eastland, played by Ginty, a man who launches a bloody vendetta against the New York underworld when his best friend is brutally beaten by a vicious street gang. Eastland becomes a vigilante hero to the public, but to the police, the Exterminator is a psychopath capable of dangerously undermining an entire government administration. Synopsis Films is proud to present The Exterminator in its more violent and gory director's cut, lovingly restored in high definition from original vault materials, one of the most cold-blooded and controversial revenge films ever made. This is a sick example of the most unbelievable descent into gruesome savagery in American movies. And Roger Ebert said that. So, this is another one of those movies where within the movie, I will say, that this guy's revenge, this guy's anger, and how he descends upon these bad people in this movie and gets his revenge for what happened to his best friend. I think it's another one of those things where within the movie, at least, that the violent acts perpetrated by the bad evil people in this movie makes what this guy does, the exterminator, completely justified. And these are the type of movies that kind of make us feel elated. I don't know if that would be specifically the right word, but guys, I am in no way, shape, or form like saying go out there and commit violent acts. That's not what I'm saying. But if you can safely watch something like this where the bad guys are getting their due, they're getting their just desserts, then I think that is a very healthy way for us to diffuse our anger by saying, okay, look, within this movie, this 90-minute movie or a little less, this guy is put upon by these evil guys, and then he's able to get his revenge. We know that we really shouldn't act this way in real life. But within the movie, it's sort of like a safety net. It's a way to safely diffuse our anger. Because as normal human beings, we're not going to go out and act upon something that we've seen in this movie. So, most people are going to be able to watch this, whether they're angry or not, and blow off a little steam, and then they're going to feel better. I mean, that's how I feel when I watch this stuff. So I'm hoping that it's the same for others. So definitely, again, if you've never seen Exterminator, try to watch it for free first before you plop down your hard-earned money. But I think this one is a good one. This is the unrated director's cut. Fun little movie with, like I said, with lots of gunfire and explosions, and yeah, you can just see it all there, can't you? And you can see even more fire, flames, all that stuff on the back there. Yes, TJ, Adrian Barbeau with an automatic weapon you can't beat. Escape. You definitely can't beat it. Yes. So the next movie, I'm only going to talk about one part of Grindhouse, and I bet you guys can guess which part I'm going to talk about, right? So I'm going to talk about Death Proof. This is another one that has Kurt Russell in it, but this time Kurt Russell is the bad guy. And Kurt Russell, at the end of it, gets his just desserts. And I love Death Proof. I absolutely love it. And Steve loves it. And both of us love it so much that when we were dating, we went down to Austin, Texas. We had a great time. We had a blast. And we went to the Alamo Draft House. We went to the Mondo Tea Shop. But what we also did was, because we love Death Proof so much, we actually went to the locations that were talked about in the first part of Death Proof with the first group of girls, which is the group that Steve likes. I like the Tennessee girls, the second group of girls. But the first part of it's supposed to take place in Austin, Texas, of course. And so when we were down in Austin, Texas, we went to Guero's and the Texas Chili Parlor. Now, as most of us know, the outside, the exteriors were the actual locations because we actually took pictures outside of them and stuff. Although the Texas Chili Parlor kind of looks like it's in the middle of nowhere in the film. And in actuality, it is on a busy street with all kinds of stuff around it. So there's Hollywood magic for you. But the inside of these places were obviously filmed in the studio. And I think me and Steve half knew that anyway, but we were still a little bit disappointed when we actually went inside the places and it didn't look anything like the interiors in the movie. No jukebox, I don't think, or anything like there was in the Texas Chili Parlor. No Warren giving us drinks and stuff like that. But anyway, um, but anyways, this movie does have it does have a lot. Well, the second half of it, where the second group of girls, the girls that are my favorites, get the revenge on Kurt Russell, who is a guy who was a stunt man, and he must have freaking lost his mind along the way because now he likes, running down people for fun, kind of like playing a game of Frogger, only he's running over people in very disgusting fashion. We've only got 2 people in here now. Everybody must have went over to Dead Pit. Well, hopefully everybody can, that missed the last half of it can watch it at a later time. So the second group of girls, after he dispatches the first group of girls, hope I didn't give nothing away. Sorry, guys. These next group of girls are badasses, pretty much. One who is Zoe Bell. And this is action, nonstop action, pretty much, with the exception of the first part when Zoe Bell's character gets off the plane and she's talking to the other girls, and anybody that knows who Zoe Bell is knows that she's a stunt woman. So she got to do all the cool, or most of the cool stuff in the movie. And so then these girls get their revenge on Kurt Russell. So it's another one of these where women can feel kind of vindicated at the conclusion of this, because they mess him up in so many different ways. And even they shoot him and they cause him to wreck his car. And then even when they've done all that stuff, they're still not done with him. And they kick him. They're kicking him in the face. They're doing roundhouse kicks and everything. So you get this fantastic ending to the movie where these girls are literally beating the shit out of Kurt Russell. And he deserves it within the film for what he's done. So again, another one, this would be good for anybody to watch, male or female. But I think women may feel an extra sense of empowerment by watching this, because even though the first group of girls don't make it, the second group of girls, with the exception of Lee, who is not, I hate to say it, but she's not quite as tough as the other gals. And so she gets left behind while the other girls take a vehicle out to test drive it. And then they run afoul of Kurt Russell's character of Stuntman Mike. So, Highly recommend Grindhouse, both Planet Terror and Death Proof, especially if you've never seen them. It has been a while. Definitely pull this sucker back out and watch it. I need to rewatch it, actually. I haven't watched it for a while. TJ, you say your name wouldn't have to be Butterfly. Yeah, that's a great scene. So we're down to the final three, guys. I'll try to make this quick so everybody can, either get over to Dead Pit or take a nap or whatever. Is Grisly, which we actually do have a grizzly, a giant grizzly that is attacking people. This also has Christopher George. It has Andrew Prine. It has Richard Jekyll. And this is a William Girdler movie. Anybody that's familiar with William Girdler knows that he did a lot of these similar types of movies back in the 70s. This was actually came out in 1976, the year I was born. So it's as old as me. It's 46 years old. So when an 18-foot, 2,000-pound grizzly bear starts mauling campers and hikers at a state park, a park ranger played by Christopher George springs into action. But the job is too big to tackle alone, so he enlists the aid of a naturalist, Richard Jekyll, and a helicopter pilot, Andrew Prine, to take this freak of nature down. Meanwhile, the giant grizzly, not content with picnic baskets, continues to kill indiscriminately, leaving pools of blood and piles of body parts in his wake. Can the ranger and his cronies end the grizzly's reign of terror without resorting to excessively extreme measures? This post-Jaws Nature Runs Rampant thriller was directed by William Girdler, who also did Day of the Animals and The Manitou, or Manitou, or whatever, and was a box office hit and the top grossing independent film of 1976. Okay, so I'll preface this by saying that I used to not be a fan of these animal attack movies like Grisly, and they kind of grew on me over time. So now I love Grisly. And yes, I know there was a Grisly 2 that was made later on. I have yet to watch it. I've heard it's not very good, but I did find this one enjoyable. And even though it's PG, I think they do a lot with it, despite the PG rating. And they could get away with a few more things. I'm not saying this is real super gory or anything. I'm just saying it's another one of those movies where you can almost imagine your anger being this grizzly bear if you're feeling angry, or mad as hell, as I said before. And I know I can imagine my anger being this 18-foot grizzly bear. And sometimes don't we wish that we could just, take a big old claw and just swipe everybody out of the way that's pissed us off. Again, we're not going to go out and hurt people, but metaphorically speaking, this is a good way, again, to diffuse our anger because somebody else or some other creature is doing the dirty work and not us. And it's all within the safety net of a movie. So, again, Grisly is a good animal attack film. If you like these types of films, if you like Jaws, if you like Alligator, even if you like things like Kingdom of the Spiders, The Nest, any of that type of stuff, I think you will enjoy this one. I really do. Okay, so down to the final two, and I think y'all are going to find the last one I talked about kind of amusing. So, this is the one, the only, I Spit on Your Grave. Forget those remakes. Please, for the love of God, forget those remakes. This is the Camille Keaton Marzarki classic, I Spit on Your Grave. This is the 4K. I'll tell you, just to talk about the transfer a little bit, the 4K is not top of the line, but it still probably looks the best this movie's ever going to look. In case any of you guys out there were on the fence about purchasing the 4K of it. And another tidbit of information about it, that woman there, I have heard several times that is Demi Moore, a very young Demi Moore posing in that shot. So that's Demi Moore's ass and back and everything. So she posed for the cover art for "I Spit on Your Grave." Jay say I'm my Dana's fave. TJ save 4K. I 4K on your grave. LOL. Super clear and detailed spit. Yeah. So this is definitely, not only is it a rape revenge movie, but it's a women empowerment movie. And when I met Camille Keaton a few years back, she actually signed my mini poster for "I Spit on Your Grave" and had something to effect about women power or woman power or whatever, because I was talking to her about how much I loved her performance in this movie and how she, went from not me, but went from being just a regular woman to um, being fully empowered and able to get her revenge on the guys in the movie that had done these terrible things to her. Um, so definitely, "I Spit on Your Grave," the original 1978 exploitation classic, is, I don't care how you look at it, it ends up being about woman empowerment. Um, and this was, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. This was the one and only movie pretty much that my parents asked me to wait to watch, which I'm really thankful that they did, because that was like when I was 12 years old when my parents rented that. And, of course, I could hear all the sounds and stuff and these guys screaming and stuff. I thought I was missing the greatest horror movie ever made. And, but I don't think I needed to watch it at 12. I wouldn't have any concept really, nor should I have any concept of a woman being brutally gang raped by these thugs in the movie. Um, I think you kind of have to grow into movies like this. And even when you get older, some people, these movies still aren't for them. But if they are for you, then if you're feeling angry and put upon and all this stuff, I'm not saying really that if you've been savagely raped. I know there was a girl that I don't remember if it was on some extra features on this or what, but was talking about she was raped and this movie really helped her. I don't know if that would help everybody, or every woman that this has happened to. So I wouldn't really want to suggest it to somebody that had been through a brutal rape. Um, but you have to let each person decide on their own. But as far as if you're feeling really angry and you feel like you've been unjustly treated and stuff like that, I think that good triumphing over evil, because ultimately I think that's what this movie is about. I'm not watching it for rape. I don't care what Siskel and Ebert or any other groups might say about movies like this. They don't glorify rape. They make rape down in the mud and the nastiness and all that stuff. They do not glorify rape in any way, shape, or form. Uh, I, Last House on the Left doesn't glorify rape. It's ugly. It's dirty. It's degrading. It's all of those things. And there is not one rape revenge movie that I've seen that glorifies rape, um, or tries to gloss it over or anything like that. So, and I'm talking about these hardcore movies like I Spit on Your Grave, Last House on the Left, Thriller, A Cruel Picture, things like that. They do not try to gloss it over. And I think if you're adult enough to be able to take it and to watch them, I think they're an important part of the genre. And so definitely, you know, if I wouldn't recommend it to all women that I don't know what Sammy's making that noise to I wouldn't want to say, hey, you've been raped, here's a movie to watch, I Spit on Your Grave. No, I wouldn't want to say that. But for just certain days when we're feeling really angry and, like I said, unjustly, unfairly treated, um, I think this would be a diffuser and make us feel more powerful and able to take care of ourselves and able to persevere and push through whatever we were feeling like, was unfair to us or unjust to us or whatever. And hopefully, watching something like this, we could figure out more constructive outlets in real life to take care of that anger. Curly Josie say From Dusk Till Dawn classic. What did you think of it, Dana? I love From Dusk Till Dawn. Actually, Steve got me. He got me a copy of it. Like I think it was like a limited edition steelbook or something a few years back. So yeah, I definitely love that movie. Great vampire movie in my opinion. Okay, guys. So and Jay, you say, what's wrong with watching brutal dirtbags get what's coming for them? They clearly asked for it. Good times. Well, yeah, Jay, within that movie, they were brutal dirtbags and they did get what they deserved. The last one, and you guys are probably going to chuckle for those of you that have seen it, Return of the Living Dead. Clu Gulager, God rest his soul. I had to say that out of respect for him. So Return of the Living Dead is a great zombie movie. I don't care what anybody says about it. To me, this is a classic. And you're probably thinking, well, why is this a movie that you would watch when you're angry? I'll tell you, for one reason. And it doesn't have anything to do really with the zombies. What it has to do with is they freaking annihilate Louisville at the end of this movie. So anytime I'm feeling angry with anything that's happened to me within Louisville and the whole job debacle thing happened to me in Louisville, and no, I'm not going to drop a nuke on Louisville, but at the end of this movie, when the zombies are pretty much taking over this area and the government doesn't know what to do, and it was their mistake that caused all of this, they decide, oh, we'll just blow up this place. And you really don't realize you don't realize it's Louisville until you get to the very end of the movie where they push the button and Louisville gets nuked, because that's when it says like Louisville, Kentucky. And I cannot help but laugh every time I see that, especially if I'm feeling angry. It's like, yes, ultimate revenge. Not realizing that if somebody really did nuke Louisville, I'd be blowed up too. But, I don't know what the world's saying right now. Sammy, shh. Be quiet now. It's probably a good thing I'm getting off here soon, because Sammy will probably do something that he shouldn't. Now we got 6 people in here. TJ, you say Return's my number one fave on this list. Linnea Trash Quigley, Jules Shepard, Clue Gulager, the whole cast. Although not a single Louisville accent. Yeah, exactly. But, you know, the last time I was feeling angry with something that happened to me, um, you know, and it was Louisville based. Um, the first thing I thought of was that final scene of Return of the Living Dead. So not only is this a great zombie movie, but for me personally, it's a great anger diffuser because if I'm feeling unjustly treated here in Louisville by somebody or some entity, some group, um, I just get an ultimate sense of devious satisfaction at even though I know it's not Louisville and I know that we really shouldn't nuke Louisville and I don't particularly want to die in a nuclear explosion, that is just kind of a metaphor for my anger, that big, huge nuke explosion that's going to take out Louisville. And Steve would probably think I am nuts, but this was the first movie I picked off of my shelf, but I had it near the bottom because I was trying to do them in alphabetical order. And I did want to save it for last, just because of the particular resonance it has for me. Um, so, guys, we went on for, or I went on for almost 2 hours tonight. I didn't really intend to go on that long. Now we've dropped down to like 3 people. But for those that stuck around, I thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to do the watch along for Halloween 2 come Saturday. But I did want to remind people, I did put this in the description. I was not able to find a link anywhere last night for the movie. So it might be if you want to watch the movie along with me, you're going to have to pull out your personal copy. It looks like I'm going to have to pull out my personal copy too and just hook up my, um, either my, I may have to hook up my Blu-ray drive and put my Blu-ray in, and watch it that way. So I just wanted to remind everybody about that. So if you're interested in joining me for the Halloween 2 watch along, it will be Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, probably, because I think Steve is planning on doing his show at 6 Eastern Time. So you guys can enjoy Steve's show. And then if you want to hop on over to my watch along for Halloween 2, I'd be certainly be appreciative of that. And the coming week, I'm not really sure. I want to be able to do things on Tuesday and Wednesday at least. Um, I will say I'm planning on, as of now, doing that. So the job front, I will say, is looking a little brighter. And that's all I'll say about it in case there's some prying eyes and ears out there. But we'll just, I'll keep y'all posted on that. So, anyway, with all of that being said, as always, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see everybody on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now.